Welcome to episode 110 of the Whatnauts Review Show. Here, every week, we pick a different story and we talk about it. This could be a movie, TV show, anime, manga, comic book, audio drama, any kind of entertainment. We give ourselves a week, we watch it, read it, listen to it, and then we come back here and we talk about that story. My name is Melissa Wilkinson, and I am joined, as always, by Kyle Springer.
Hello. 110
Hi,
is
Kyle.
a lot of numbers.
That's as much effort as you should be giving in anything.
That's more than I can count to.
We've reached maximum effort. This is the most podcast we will ever do.
The most podcast. Yeah. I'm excited to talk about this one. It's been a little bit since we recorded last. We are still in the midst of all of the Black Lives Matter protests and stuff like that. And we decided to take the week off so people could focus on more important things. So it's been a little while since you and I have recorded together.
Yeah. It's nice to be back with a friend talking about something pretty cool.
Indeed. One more thing, however, on the Black Lives Matter protests and stuff. Something that we want to let all of you guys know is that this entire month we will be donating all of the money that we get from Patreon to the ACLU. So if you guys want to join us on Patreon, patreon.com/thewhatnauts is where you can join us. If you guys want to donate on your own and you don't want to give directly to us, that is totally fine as well. But if we were the ones that maybe got you thinking about donating or something, maybe take a screenshot of your receipt and let us know. I think that would be fantastic to see how much money we raised by the end of the month and donated.
Influenced.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice you do what feels right to yourself and your own heart, and let us know. Reach out.
There you go. Exactly. But besides that, Melissa, how are you?
I've been pretty good. I've got a new lamp in here, which is very exciting.
Yeah, you
let me adjust my camera up here.
One of those newfangled, like changeable, dimmable light bulbs, right?
Oh, that's not even in here. That's in the living room. Right. I've got so much lamp news, Kyle. You wouldn't believe it. There's
puts Pixar
one new lamp and
puts Pixar to shame.
I'm the new lamp master. I'm Luxo Senior. Yeah, I put a new lamp in here that I'd been dreaming about, and finally my local IKEA was opened up again, so I could run in there and get it. And then I did, after your great inspiration, buy some smart light bulbs for this lamp I have in like the dining room, living room that are dimmable and color temperature changeable.
Okay.
It's white, cool, and white warm.
Sure.
It's not colors. It's just different variants of white, which is all I need. I don't need like a green dining room.
Like who doesn't want to eat their food like basked in radioactive light? That would be fantastic. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's how the Hulk eats.
As I speak in all of my red lights here. So, good stuff. Hi, Jack. See, you are in the chat there.
Oh, it's good to have company.
Yeah, always good to have some company. My week has been okay. Of course, right like before we took our week off, I threw out my back. So I've kind of been on bed rest. For the past, I guess coming on 2 weeks. I didn't need to be this past week, but I was just like, you know what? Why not? So that was me.
No,
in bed.
Did a medical professional recommend this to you, or were you basing this off other sitcoms you have seen where somebody throws their back out and lies down for the rest of the episode?
No medical professionals were involved.
Okay.
My dad threw out his back a couple times, so he was just like, "Yeah, just stay still, don't do anything." So I was like, "I can do that. That sounds good." Lay in bed all week and just do nothing.
For the good of your health.
Exactly. But I watched a lot of TV and stuff, which I'm sure you will hear about on the Captain's Log when we record that this weekend. so tomorrow, because we're recording tonight on a Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. But what are we here to talk about this week, Melissa?
We are talking about the Fantastic Four. We are reading the original Stan Lee Jack Kirby comics from 1961. These are collected in a volume called Fantastic Four Masterworks, Volume 1, which is the first 10 issues of the comic. I found this on Comixology Unlimited. I've never directly interacted with the Fantastic Four. I mostly just know various parody versions of the Fantastic Four. So I thought it would be good to read them and read like the origin of the Marvel universe itself. I mean, Captain America predates this and possibly other things, but like I feel like this is when Marvel becomes Marvel, is with these four.
Exactly. Yeah. I think this is the oldest comic book that we have read on the show.
Mm-hmm.
I know on the Whatnots podcast, the previous iteration of this show, we watched I think the 1917 film by Fritz Lang called Metropolis, and I think that was the oldest piece of media that we've covered, but this is the oldest comic book that we have covered. And like you, I've not read much of the Fantastic Four, except when they show up in other stuff. So I was excited to get to go back and read this, especially since it is also Stan Lee and Jack Kirby working together. Two of comics greats.
Yeah, and like I realized this was the first time I think I had read anything that was by those two. Of course, their influence and their content, you know, their creations are all over the place being worked with by other artists and writers. But this is my first Stan Lee Jack Kirby story. So that was exciting.
Good stuff. Well, just on that note, something I happened to see on the Wikipedia page for the Fantastic Four, it sounded like Stan Lee was about ready to stop making comics right before he made this, and he was just like, you know what, I think I'm done. And then they worked together on the Fantastic Four, and it was an instant success. And they were like, "Whoa, well, I think we hit something here."
There's an afterword to this volume that Stan Lee wrote, and he talks about how he had been working at Marvel, originally Timely Comics, for like 20 years or something before he started this. And he was just doing some comics and like a bunch of other freelance writing all over the place. And his wife, Joan, was like, why don't you try focusing on comics? Like, I think if you put all your attention there, you could be really good at this. This could be the rest of your career and you wouldn't have to freelance anymore. So yeah, that's how we wound up with the Fantastic Four. Just one big story for him and Jack to focus their attention on.
Good stuff. So we'll, I guess, do what we normally do here on the review show, do our general thoughts, do a synopsis, and then we'll get into some housekeeping and spoilers, stuff like that. So, Melissa, first time reading the Fantastic Four, some old school Fantastic Four, the original.
Yes.
What did you think? What were your general thoughts?
This was really fun. It is so bombastic and over the top and corny, and nothing is explained. All of this stuff just happens in front of you. There's not a ton of like narrative through lines or real deep character development, although I recognize that it is deeper than many other things at that time. It took me a little bit to adjust to, but then once I got it. It was pretty easy breezy reading from there. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this.
Good. Yeah, it's definitely a very different style of writing and just comics in general from what is like the modern day comic. But yeah, a lot of things on this Fantastic Four run in the Marvel Universe got started in the Fantastic Four.
In issue 2, they're fighting the Skrulls, who we saw just last year in the Captain Marvel movie. So they're going strong.
Fantastic Four is also where the Inhumans got started. It's where Black Panther first showed up. It's
Oh.
it's where Galactus is from, Silver Surfer, all of that stuff. They're all in this, and this is kind of the thing that solidified what we know as the Marvel universe and made it catch on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think going back and reading this, I've read a bunch of the old Spider-Man stuff, so I'm a little bit more used to Stan Lee's writing.
Gee, what year did that start? I know that was also in like the 60s, the mid 60s.
Early 60s. I don't know off the top of my head. Amazing Spider and comic, and it should give me the page. There you go. Let's see. Marvel Comics being the mainstream continuity of the franchise, which began publication in 1963.
Okay.
So it was 2 years after this. And there is an early, I think it's issue 1. It's that Spider-Man meets the Fantastic Four and stuff like that. But then I don't remember what issue it is, but there's an issue where Spider-Man tries to join the Fantastic Four and doesn't go so great. I think he gets rejected, and so he puts a paper bag over his head because he loses his mask, and they call him the Bombastic Bag Man.
Okay, so has like Johnny or somebody left? Is he trying to be the new number 4, or is he like, guys, imagine what you could do with 5?
I think it's that they're looking for a new member, and he shows up. He's like, haha, Spider-Man, right? Yeah. Anyone? Bueller? No? Okay, going home. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. It's still just so different because they pack so much into a single issue, and it's like oddly broken up into chapters, which is also kind of helpful. Like I oddly like that. But it's like 4 or 5 chapters per each issue in this volume. Which then makes it a very fast-paced story because you don't get much time to like sit with the characters or stuff like that. So it's, like we said, it's kind of very surface level for what it is. But it's a lot of fun because they just do these crazy things and get into the wildest situations.
My mom asked me what we were covering on the podcast this week, and I told her, like, we're reading the old Fantastic Four comics from 1961, and she's like, 1961? I wonder if there's anything in there that's talking about the social issues of the time that we're continuing to struggle with today. Like, she's getting real deep, and I'm like, oh, Mom, I'm sorry to tell you, it's just space alien nonsense. There's a man who walks in and out of the sea.
Every now and then there is some stuff. I know in Spider-Man, because he's in college, and so that was like the college experience and stuff of like people protesting the Vietnam War and stuff like that. And I guess his first like year or so he's still in high school, but there is that stuff in a lot of their comics, but mostly the Fantastic Four is just bombastic science adventures, space, aliens, alternate dimensions, weird underwater men that walk out of the sea and forget who they are, and aliens who can shape shift and stuff like that. Yeah. So
there's some emotion behind it. Like Thing was surprisingly compelling.
I think Thing is the heart of the team. And I think what stood out with this comic that they didn't really have much of at the time, which made this book a hit, was the like dysfunctional family, which we look back and it's like, oh, they're just your typical like Leave It to Beaver family, but they are this like dysfunctional, lovable. They don't like each other. They hate each other at times. They have these like petty arguments, but at the end of the day, it's like, oh, we're all family. Like, put her there.
Yeah, there's a lot of times when Ben and or Johnny tries to leave, and Sue and Reed are like really ambiguously a thing, and then she falls for Namor, and then later Reed is like, I thought we were gonna get married eventually. Sue and Johnny, despite being siblings, seem to not be close at all.
Yeah. So let's do a sort of synopsis. I guess we read 10 issues, and they're kind of monster of the week. So it's hard to do a basic synopsis. But if you did not know, this follows Dr. Reed Richards, and as well as Susan Storm and her younger brother Johnny Storm, as well as Ben Grimm, as they travel out into space to do some science experiments. When it goes horribly wrong, they crash back down to Earth. They've been affected by this radiation, and it has given them superpowers. They are now the Fantastic Four. And they, just immediately start going on all of these crazy adventures, from monsters that they fight that are underneath the Earth to space aliens, to Prince Namor, who lives underneath the sea. He's kind of like Marvel's equivalent of Aquaman. They meet Doctor Doom.
There's also an issue where they're just bankrupt.
Yeah. So that they go on some wild and crazy adventures. Like we said, they're kind of a dysfunctional family. They have some petty squabbles and stuff like that, but they are Marvel's first family. So good stuff. Did you want to add anything to that? Something else that people might need to know before checking this out?
I imagine this is pretty common knowledge, but just because we didn't overtly mention it, the specific superpowers they get, Reed can turn real bendy. He calls himself Mr. Fantastic. He can like stretch his arms and legs and become shapes. Sue turns invisible. She's called the Invisible Woman or Invisible Girl, I think, is how she's initially introduced. Johnny can catch himself on fire and then fly around because he's lighter than air and he's the Human Torch. And poor Ben just becomes a big, thick, strong rock man. And he's like, don't even call me Ben anymore. I am the Thing.
I'm just a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun series to go back and look. Man, this is where it all started, basically. I do happen to know that Namor was around in Marvel Comics before this and stuff like that.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not the first time the Marvel universe existed, but this is kind of where it all cemented. Good stuff. A little bit of housekeeping for you, though.
Yeah.
You guys did not know we have multiple podcasts here at the Whatnots. You guys can find them all and check them out on our website, thewhatnots.com. I mentioned the Captain's Log at the start of this. That's our off-topic show where we just goof off, share stories, play games, do whatever we want on that one. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, if you guys like what we do, you guys can support us at patreon.com/thewhatnots. For as little as $1 a month, you guys can get episodes early. You guys can get some exclusive content. We just recently put up an exclusive episode of the Reactor Core, in which Melissa and I were reacting to 90s movies trailers, or movie trailers from the 90s, not 90 of them in total, because that would be a lot. But yeah, that's fun. That's on there.
We could have done a top 100 list, but we were 10 away and we got too tired, so it's only 90.
Exactly. So yeah, you guys can go check out all of that stuff on our Patreon, or by supporting our Patreon and all of that stuff is on our website. I believe that is about it. We mentioned we are donating all of our Patreon money this month to the ACLU, so don't forget about that. Spread the word. That'd be great. I think that is about it for housekeeping stuff.
Thank you for being a part of our house, listeners.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I guess one last thing I do want to mention that I almost forgot about this week. As of tomorrow, from when we are recording this, Artemis Fowl is coming out. And it is a favorite book of Melissa and I, so we will be doing an episode of the Reactor Core on that. Be on the lookout for that as well.
Yeah, the Reactor Core is a podcast we do that's kind of like the review show, but it is for brand new hot things, and we do a little bit more of a plot breakdown point by point instead of this all over discussion you're going to enjoy here today.
But this Artemis Fowl one is like 20 years in the making. So
right, this is a book this is a young adult fantasy series that we both read as children. Yeah. And in the back of the first book, which I read at 10 years old, it said, "Hey, keep an eye out for this upcoming movie." And this thing has been delayed so many times, and finally, like, I'm like less than 24 hours away from like laying eyes on this thing. I'm so excited.
Exactly. Be on the lookout for that. But I think that is all for housekeeping for now. Let's get into spoilers. There we go. We're officially in spoiler territory. To be honest, it's kind of hard to spoil this one because plot-wise, there's not much that happens.
I think I already said the biggest thing, which is that Sue falls for Namor. I think that's the most plot-relevant thing that happens.
Yeah, it's a lot of... I mean, like we said, it's Monster of the Week, basically. We get to see the Mole Man. We get to see all the monsters that are underneath the earth. We get to meet Namor.
That the first villain?
Yeah, he is the first one that they meet. Yeah.
They start at Mole Man.
Yeah. Who is like destroying nuclear reactors by using monsters, by like manipulating them with a magical pan flute or something like that. It's ridiculous. It is over the top, bombastic.
While I was reading this, I did keep a running list of the silliest things that happened, so I have notes for this.
Yes. But just off the top here, yeah, they meet the Mole Man, they meet Namor, they meet Dr. Doom. They are attacked by shape-shifting aliens called the Skrulls. Dr. Doom is launched into space on an asteroid. They
and then in the last or second to last issue, Stanley and Jack Kirby themselves appear in their office talking to each other like, who's our next villain gonna be for the next issue of Fantastic Four? And then Dr. Doom walks into the room.
It's like, I have some ideas.
No, he literally says, "Did someone say my name?" Because they're like, oh, it's a shame we sent Dr. Doom into space. He'd be so great. So he walks in and says, "Did someone say my name?" And then one of them says, "How did you save yourself from being hurled into endless space?" And he says, "We will not discuss it now."
That is a story for another time. It's like that meme, if you're a Kingdom Hearts fan, that meme of Mickey Mouse when he walks in and he has on the Organization 13 hood. He's in all black and he's like, "Did somebody say the door to darkness?" Just like,
yeah,
Mickey, what are you doing?
That's what this whole book is like.
It's so much fun though, because it's so wacky. They go bankrupt and they star in a movie that Namor is putting on, which is all a trap.
So Namor's entire narrative is wild. I need to talk about him. So Johnny leaves the team, which he tries to do several times in these 10 issues. Yeah. He leaves the team and he goes to like a man's halfway house.
It's just in one of these other for men.
Yeah, hotel for men. My favorite fragrance.
Johnny,
Hotel Porham.
Johnny, I don't think that's the kind of hotel you want to stay at there, buddy.
But I can get myself clean. I can have a good meal. I can do whatever I feel. So he's in this man hostel, and there's this other like bearded, ragged guy there. And somebody is reading a Namor comic book. So it makes sense you said Namor already existed. Comic books exist in this world. This is why Stanley and Jack Kirby themselves are in it. So somebody looks at the comic book and looks at this bearded, like, sort of glassy-eyed, rambling guy and is like, wait a minute. Kind of looks like Namor. And then Johnny uses his flame powers. He, like, fine-tunes his flame powers to, like, burn the beard off of his face.
He burns away
like,
his hair, gives him a haircut by burning it off. It must have smelled horrible in there.
God. Smells like seaweed. He's an underwater man.
It's. I mean, have you smelled burning hair before though? Have you like straightened your hair and accidentally burned it?
No, because I'm careful. But I get what you're going for.
It smells bad.
But Namor gets a haircut and a shave. And he has forgotten who he is. I don't know how. And then he like wakes back up. He finds his like magic horn.
Well, they wake him up by throwing him in the water.
Oh my God, that's right.
It's like, we'll drag you down to the ocean.
Once he's wet again, he remembers his true self. He blows this horn. Like he's fighting the Fantastic Four, and Sue panics and says, "I'll marry you if you stop this."
Well, because he's attracted to her, and she's always kind of been attracted to him, and she's just like, you know what? Screw it. I'll sleep with you. I'll marry you if you just stop this.
They don't know each other for that long. It's like a handful of pages. They have very few interactions before she's
Minutes.
like, well, I don't know. I'll marry you.
Yeah.
Is a bride what you want? I'll do that if you'll stop attacking my friends. It's not his idea. It's her idea.
Yeah. It's so weird.
That's how you know your relationship is in trouble, Reed. You gotta watch out for these red flags. Did your girlfriend threaten to marry an underwater prince?
Yeah. Should have put a ring on it, as Beyonce once said.
Right. He's gonna put like some coral on it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably like a pirate treasure ring that sank to the bottom of the sea. There is an issue about pirate treasure that we have to get to.
Yeah. Well, let's continue with the interactions with Namor first. Let's do all of that stuff.
Is it Namor or is it Namor?
I go back and forth. I've heard both.
Okay.
I hear Namor a lot. I think that is the correct one, Namor. But I don't know exactly. I don't really care enough.
Quote the Raven, Namor.
Yeah. Sure. So yeah, like she is like, hey, I'll marry you. And he's like, well, sure, why not? That sounds good. I can have a princess or a queen or
also,
whatever.
I think like the rest of Atlantis is like destroyed or something. He's the only person down there. It's just him and Fish.
I think he thinks they're out there. Like he knows that his people are out there. He's just like, I don't know what happened to them.
Oh, they were like bombed. Not bombed, but it was like nuclear testing. Like they were just near testing, you know. The human scientists have no idea there's Atlanteans down there. So I think they were like, it looked like things were destroyed or he was like separated from his people and something like that. And now it's just him in this Atlantis castle alone with a bunch of fish, a TV that works, and a framed photo of Sue. And Sue has a framed photo of him.
Right? Yeah, so he's kind of wanting to restart his kingdom, but he's angry at the land dwellers.
Everything.
for destroying Atlantis. So he wants to wage war on them and stuff. And so that's whole hit. That's his kind of villainous thing, and is he just like, humans, I hate you. You destroyed my home and my people. I will have revenge.
Yep.
He talks exactly like that.
Namor's the best because he is always wearing a Speedo, really intense eyebrows. He has like weird little wings on his ankles.
Looking
right, he looks like Spock. he looks like male model Spock. Under swimsuit model Spock is who he is. He's always yelling. The man is always turned up to 11. He has this horn that he blows. He hates everything that isn't Sue. He's a delight.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's wanting to get back at that. But then, we get in an issue where the Fantastic Four go broke randomly. Just all of a sudden, we have no money. Oh no, what are we going to do?
There's no lead into this. And I think they explain it that like it takes so much maintenance to just keep all of twice in these 10 issues, we get a cross section of their tower and all the stuff in it.
The Baxter Building.
Thank you. I was like, it's not the Richards Building. What is it? It's not the Fantastic Building. Who's Baxter?
Oh God, I don't even remember off the top of my head. That's something I should know. Let's see. Let's look it up. Baxter Building. Baxter Building.
If I know why it's called that, I think I'll remember better. But yeah, so they've got like a column inside the building where they keep a rocket ship surrounded by like vibration-proof walls, so like one of them can take off in the rocket ship and the other ones can like keep resting. It won't bother them. They have like all these different labs, places to put their like jet planes and cars and stuff. Like they've got an entire James Bond setup up there on the top 4 floors of this building. I don't know how they got it. But yeah, that's how they go broke just suddenly in one issue. Like, well, we have to keep paying like contractors and handy people and mechanics for all of this. And that's how and then they get this movie deal. And it's only once they've already signed, I think, that they find out that Namor is the producer. Namor got himself to land and set up a movie production studio.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, there's not a script. I'm just going to drop you here, each of you, and you're going to fight a monster. Just do what you would do, and we're going to film you fighting the monster, and we'll edit it together, and that's the movie. So he thinks he has killed Reed and Shawnee and Ben, and then he's like, well, Sue, I'm the only one left. I also killed your brother, who was not a threat to me. I just didn't like him, I guess.
Just wanted him out of the way just in case. So the Baxter Building, of course, is the Fantastic Four's hideout. It was located on 42nd Street and Madison Avenue in New York City. Was built in 1949 by the Leland Baxter Paper Company.
Okay.
Originally designated as a high-rise industrial site to accommodate pulp recycling machinery to serve the mid-Manhattan area.
Pulp recycling is our legacy.
Each floor height is 24 feet, and the top 5 floors of the 35-story building were purchased outright by the Fantastic Four.
With what money?
Well, so he's also a scientist, so I'm sure he's putting out patents and inventions and stuff like that. That's how the X-Men do all of their stuff.
He invented like liquid paper and like a coffee maker, just normal appliances and household goods that were new in 1961. They just retcon it like, oh yeah, Reed made that. Reed invented the Cuisinart.
Right? Instead of Cuisinart, it's Richards. I got my new Richards blender.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so this movie is completely ridiculous. That's what they think the answer is. Like, well, let's just go to Hollywood and make a movie. That'll solve it all. Like,
it works for the Muppets when they run out of money.
Yeah. And it ends up being a trap, like you explained. Yeah, I think that is one of the most ridiculous. Like one of the most ridiculous ones without it actually being very ridiculous. Because there is some stuff like these are larger than life characters in that world. They're not necessarily strangers to people with powers. It's still they're still like, I don't know if they actually exist. Like, we know Namor fought in World War II and stuff like that. You know, he did. Actually,
alongside Wolverine.
Alongside
America.
Wolverine, Captain America, and the original Human Torch. Johnny Storm is not the first one.
Well, I know there was one that was a robot because they made this into a cartoon and they didn't want kids playing with fire. So they're like, well, let's just replace the man with a robot and the kids won't imitate him. You can do it, kids.
Light yourself on fire right now. But yeah, so they do that. They it's like it's one of those things that you would think, if there are characters like that in their world, sure, they're going to be making comic books about characters like that, which they are. They're going to be making movies about characters like that, which apparently they are. So yeah, like it actually oddly fits, but in the way it's presented is just like, wait, what? It's like
what?
Whiplash from aliens attacking, and then it's like, oh, we have no money. Let's go make a movie instead.
What's wild about it is that even after like Namor is defeated and walks away at the end, which he does, like I think they watch him slowly, seriously walk into the sea, and that's how he exits the story and is defeated. Beyond that,
it's so funny.
Beyond that, the film continues to be released. There's somebody at this company that Namor started as a sham.
We got all this film.
Right, we filmed it. Like, we're going to edit it together. We're going to release it, and it's a hit. The American public loves the sham of a Fantastic Four movie, which I feel like is an ironic precursor to the
Fantastic Four movies.
No, I'm specifically like the 90s one, the Roger Corman trash can one that the studio made in like 10 days just to keep the rights to the movie. And it was never intended to be released. And I think there's bootlegs of it floating out there. I've been meaning to get my hands on one of them. I need to see this thing because it's apparently got like all the trappings of a film. It had to be close enough to a film to show like the rights holders. Yeah, we made a legitimate attempt at this. So like, you should let us keep the rights to the Fantastic Four and then we can try again. But you know, it's made for no budget in no time. And it shows.
Yeah.
I think they had to release it in like one theater as part of a legal deal.
Oh man.
I love stories like this. I'm happy there's one in the comics.
Yep. They get to do that stuff. I remember in Ultimate Spider-Man, that's right in the midst of when they're making all the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. And so that is happening in his universe. And he's like, oh man, I wonder who they got to play me. And then he's sitting there like, oh, Tobey Maguire. Like, I don't look anything like him.
We should all be glad to be played by Tobey Maguire in a film.
Good stuff. So yeah, and then I think Namor and Doctor Doom end up teaming up at one point in these comics. Yeah, it's wild stuff.
Let's talk about the introduction to Doctor Doom. Because the initial introduction is what I expected. It's an old college colleague of Reed's who got too deep into the science. He like blew himself up. His face is all scarred. That's why he's wearing that metal mask. He also got into sorcery. And so he's got this blend of mad science and dark magic. They don't get into, what's his country named? Latveria?
Latveria, yep.
Thank you. Isn't he like a royal? He's like Prince-elect, Duke, something?
He's like the ruler
Okay.
of
We see that he is a
Latveria.
castle, and that's
Yeah.
not really explained. So that part of the story isn't there yet. But the rest of it's like, okay, this seems like what I was expecting out of the Doctor Doom origin. Doctor Doom's plan is he kidnaps Sue as like collateral, and then he sends Johnny and Reed and Ben on a time travel mission to go back and bring him Blackbeard's treasure chest.
Yes, which is an adventure on its own. Ben Garim, who is, we'll get more into him, I'm sure, in a sec. He's having mixed thoughts of like, I don't like me being the thing because no one likes me. I'm ugly. And he gets to be a pirate. He ends up becoming Blackbeard. So
No,
in the Marvel universe, Ben Grimm is the pirate Blackbeard.
Okay, this is what's so wild about the storyline. They are sent back to pirate times. I love that this story is like, we're going to introduce this cool new villain, Doctor Doom. He's immediately disappearing because he is sending the heroes on a time adventure. You won't see him for several chapters. So the gang goes back to pirate times. They're wearing their uniforms, so they have to steal clothes to look like pirates, and they take a fake beard for the thing. Like, these real pirates had possession of a fake beard, which I don't understand what
or
they
just
need
gave
it for.
someone else a haircut and made it themselves.
Yes, like, I don't know when in the world fake beards came into play, but I guess it's now. So the Thing is wearing this big, thick, black costume beard, and it turns out it's a time loop where he was Blackbeard all along. Philip J. Fry is his own grandfather.
Yeah. So he wants to stay because he likes being a pirate. He ends up not staying.
He's gonna wear that fake beard for the rest of his life.
Yep. and he ends up not staying. They convince him to not stay, but they end up dumping the treasure into the ocean. Which I thought at one point was gonna circle back around and be like, and that's how Namor got, more of his riches
To open that
or
movie
stuff like
studio.
that. Or just like one day he's just sitting there with his big staff sitting on his throne, and then all of a sudden there's a bunch of like gold that just falls on top of him.
Just a necklace of pearls just
Ow,
delicately
oh, God.
floats down around his neck. He's like, I feel beautiful. This is what I've always wanted. Oh, we should also note that he named his movie studio SM Studio for Submariner.
Yep. Yeah.
But yeah, I think they mention when they drop the treasure in the ocean, oh boy, I hope Namor doesn't find this in the future. And as of yet, he has not. But maybe this is in the next volume of comics.
Who knows? Yeah. Yeah. So then Doctor Doom is there, and he like you said, we don't really get much of what ends up becoming Doctor Doom. We get his basic origin story, but we don't know about Latveria yet.
He looks cool.
He's kind of doing his mad scientist thing. He does. They have one issue with him where he switches bodies.
Yeah,
with Richards.
That was fun.
That was a good one. I liked that one.
I dug the art in that one a lot because Doctor Doom as Reed Richards is drawn in this like the outlines on him are like a little thicker, and his whole face is more like elastic and dynamic, and he's got these real like rubbery arched like supervillain eyebrows.
Yeah.
And then Reed as Doctor Doom just looks the same because he has a metal mask and you can't do too much with that.
He just looks sad. That's
right?
all.
It feels sadder.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I liked Namor and Doctor Doom the best. I think the space stuff was at the time a little too bombastic for me, a little too strange. I know they dive more into that stuff, but I think I didn't like it as much because they didn't actually explore it. It's
Yeah.
just like all of a sudden there's aliens with giant foreheads and their technology is like so far advanced, except they didn't know how to like make another rocket ship, like, or
They're like,
make
we only
a
ever
gun
made
to,
2. We have
or-
3, maybe.
or to make a gun to like blow up the asteroid, or a shield or something, like
Right. They
no
can't figure it
defense
out.
shield.
They have to call
on, you
Reed.
guys.
They're like, there's an asteroid coming towards our planet. We've got like 100 million citizens and only 2 spaceships. Reed Richards, what do we do? And then Reed's idea is, I'm going to shrink all of you down so that all of you can fit on one spaceship together, which is very silly but inventive. Like, I kind of like that that's the solution.
Yeah, so the like wacky sci-fi stuff that they do really calls back to a lot of sci-fi comics that they did in the 20s and the 40s and stuff like that. There's one that I was reading on Comixology. I don't remember the name of it. I'm going to see if I can look it up while we continue to talk. But yeah, it is this like wacky space adventure, like brightly colored, oddly like hard sci-fi stuff, and it's just like, this is actually really cool what they do with this stuff, but just like they don't really take time to explore it, which is I think ends up being the downside. When it's only that sci-fi stuff, then I think it makes a little more sense. But when it's like, okay, sci-fi over here, making a movie over there, Doctor Doom with like magic, and it's just like I kind of wanted more, but because we didn't get it, I ended up liking it less.
Yeah, these stories feel very scattered. Like, there's not really any repeating motifs, or like, oh, these guys mostly fight sci-fi villains or fantasy villains or regular criminals or something. It's really all over the place. They don't have much of an identity as superheroes. It's not like they've got a particular mission. There's like, yeah, we're the Fantastic Four. If we live in this tower, if you need us, shoot a 4 into the sky, we'll be there for, whatever. If you need something stretchy or invisible or on fire.
Yeah. It's still fun though.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that I like didn't like them or wasn't enjoying it. It's still fun. Yeah, just like I think I liked the more grounded stuff.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about the Fantastic Four as a family and their dynamic, because I think that is a major part of the grounded aspect there. So Reed and Sue kind of have a thing going on. Ben also kind of has a thing for Sue, but he's kind of constantly not really the third wheel, but just like she likes him. Like, what do I gotta do to make you notice me?
Exactly. Like, what am I gonna do? I'm a rock man now. Like, he still kind of pines for her, but he knows his chances are shot. And Sue and Reed themselves are interesting because I think she's introduced as, here's Reed Richards, super scientist, and his girlfriend, Susan. But then they don't do anything romantic. Like, it seems like they're just co-workers for the majority of these issues. Until at the end, I think sometime towards the end, I think he mentions like, Sue, I always thought that if the time was right, that you and I would settle down.
Tie the knot, if you know what I mean.
I'm a knot. Look, let's see this visual representation I'm doing with my big stretchy arm. Look, this could be us.
And I know there used to be a way to look at your borrow history.
I don't know.
Comixology. That's what I need to.
Well, you have fun with that. So you've got those two. You've got Ben, who's of course the hothead of the team. He is the most, of course, the most transformed by this entire experience. He feels like I have no life anymore. This is why he's like, just call me the Thing. Like, I don't feel like I'm the man I was. I can't be. And repeatedly, he is teased with his power, like his rock form will go away for a second, and he's like, "Oh, I'm Ben again," and then just like 10 seconds later, it comes back, and he's like, "No."
Like, no.
Whereas the rest of them can kind of turn things on and off. I think like Sue has some moments where she's like, "Oh, I've gone invisible," but other times she's like, "I will now turn invisible," and Reed is like, "I will now stretch," and Johnny's like, "I will now burst into flame," and the thing's just the thing all the time. Can't do anything about it.
Yeah. Well, he can control. He seemed to be. Well, Johnny Storm was able to control it and fine tune it.
Yeah.
Susan ended up kind of being able to control it for the most part.
Yeah.
Reed knew how to control it kind of, but didn't know his limits and stuff like that. But then, yeah, with Ben, he was just stuck.
I want to say that the longest stretch that Reed does is for the least important thing. I think they're like trying to open the door to their rocket, and it's something like, I need this one part that's on a different floor of the apartment. Well, I'll just stretch my arm up real far through like all of the grates and the chutes and everything. And then he's like, "Oh, my arm hurts. I won't do that again." And I'm like, "Reed, you could have taken an elevator. What's this for?"
Yeah. I mean, they are still figuring out their powers. I know they end up getting better at them and stuff like that. I guess that's the right way to say it. But yeah, I mean, we're still in the discovery phase. We are still I don't think they name their building.
No.
Do they call it the Baxter Building? I don't think they do.
If they do, it's like once or twice.
We don't get. Yeah, like we don't get a lot of explanations for things or who these people are or what they do. Like there's almost nothing to them. I think the one that is the weakest is Susan. Just because she is basically the woman on the team. She is the girl.
Right, and this was 1961 when that was all the characterization you needed was, and there's a girl
basically.
one. Yeah. Which doesn't mean she's not unpleasant. I still liked reading her. I knew she would eventually grow into things as the story went on.
Yeah. I think for me the stuff that really stood out about them was the Ben Grimm stuff and just how much he really, really hated his powers.
Yeah.
Because everyone else doesn't seem to have a problem with their powers. Johnny, of course, is using it to show off and get some chicks and stuff like that. And Sue is maybe the most helpful with her powers.
Yeah.
Reed is using them around just to like, "Oh, that thing I left is upstairs. I'll stretch and go get that thing upstairs." But like, it stood out so much that Ben is like, "I don't want to be this. Like, I don't want to be a superhero. I don't want to be someone who has to go out and fight all of this stuff. I just want to be a normal person." Which I think is a fantastic bit for a character. He is the reluctant hero who still just wants to be a good person, right? Like he's still, it's like, well, I guess I do have these powers and these are my best friends and my family. Like I should help them, but I don't like this. You know?
Yeah,
and
it
stands out, and I think that is the emotional weight of this book. That is the thing that I think I was like, I want to see if there's more of this.
Yeah, I like his perspective that he does not have a particular drive to be a superhero. He doesn't think anything he does is fun or cool, but what else is he going to do? He's just at absolute loose ends. He does not know how else to live his life. He's like, I guess I'm boxed into this. He seems to not care about his fellow Fantastic Three terribly much, except for his crush on Sue. He does not like Johnny. Johnny and the Thing keep fighting, and then one of them will storm away and threaten to leave.
They are more like brothers than they actually realize.
Yes.
Because I have the most Fantastic Four centric thing I have read was a recent run on Marvel Team Up, in which it's the Thing and Johnny Storm looking for Reed and Sue and their kids after the events of this event book, and they have disappeared, and they are like. They're still out there somewhere, but they're again still at wit's end. They don't like each other, but at the end of the day, they're just like, look, our family might still be out there. We need to go find them, and it was fantastic. No pun intended. But yeah, I really like that aspect about them, that they are. They fight. They argue. They're just like, oh, you knucklehead, get back here.
Yeah.
It's good. It's fun to watch them. Like, oh, that's just Ben and Johnny.
Yeah, and I think in the last issue, it is teasing like, and look next issue for more information on the backstory of the Fantastic Four. Because when we meet them in the first issue, they're like already superheroes. You see them all rushing to the scene of this crime, and then there's like these little flashback pages of the four of them getting together on this rocket ship, going to space and coming back, and they have powers. And I think it's just, we're just told what their relationship is. But I would like to see, like, how do Reed and Ben know each other exactly? How did Reed meet Sue? Why does Sue always have her little brother tagging along? Do they have parents? Where are they at?
Yeah, and why did she think it was a good idea for them to sneak on a U.S. like space base and steal the rocket and fly to space with?
No, I just think it's funny that they're like, yeah, it takes the four of us to launch a rocket into space, and that's it. We don't need any technicians on the ground. The four of us only, and look, we are in the galaxy.
Yeah. It's fun. Like I think, despite not getting much of who these characters are, I do think I want to know more. Like I'm led to be like, I actually like these guys. Like, they are likable despite me not knowing much. So good job on that stuff.
So we had to delay our recording a couple days because your power went out over the weekend.
It did.
How did that go?
So a transformer blew up in our neighborhood. The Decepticon showed up. It was a big fight. Yeah, but no, a transformer blew up, and power went out for a few hours, most of the day. But it was just like, well, I guess we just have to deal with this now. But yeah.
Yeah. But I told you, since we were going to record a couple days later than we had planned, I offered you a little challenge, because I said, I've been reading this thing. These characters are interesting, but they're still fairly shallow. The Fantastic Four have been rebooted multiple times. They're going to be rebooted again. What is your version of the Fantastic Four? If you were doing it, what would you want to see? Because I've had something I've been thinking about all week.
Okay. So I guess I'm thinking more in terms of how I would want to see them brought into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah. Yes.
I want it set in the 60s.
Yes.
Put it back in the 60s. I want like Mad Men style, like looking suit, like
they're right there on Madison Avenue.
Yeah, take that TV show and just make it the Fantastic Four instead. At the same time, I want a mix of like a good like family story, like, hey, family sticks together and all that stuff. I do want the like interesting like government espionage stuff mixed in there, because I like that. Are people that are not only are scientists, but I'm sure at the time would have been working on weapons or government contracts and stuff like that. So maybe they meet a young Nick Fury again, or something, or like
young
Nick Fury
Hank Pym,
Senior. Or like a young Hank Pym or something. Like, I think that would be fantastic. And I also do want them to get into like wacky sci-fi stuff.
Yes.
But I want it to be more like 60s and 70s themed. Like like more psychedelic.
Ooh,
if that makes sense.
I'd like to see them go into like corny old James Bond escapades.
Okay.
Just constantly going to lairs that are half volcano, fighting people who are like painted gold or have like a hat with a knife in it or metal teeth.
Yeah. That would be good. They have a giant laser aimed at the moon. How do we stop it?
Exactly. Like, that's what I want. Lasers. Everything is lasers, rockets, acid vapors.
Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah.
Poison perfumes.
I think I like that. Or if they do a modern take, like, I want it to be very, very sci-fi. Like, just go all in with the sci-fi. Do a story about artificial intelligence, which I guess they kind of already did with Avengers, but like that and alternate dimensions. Like, they would be, especially since the MCU is just starting to explore alternate dimensions and stuff like that. And we know the Fantastic Four deals with that. They deal with the negative zone. We already have the quantum realm in the MCU. Like, I would want them to deal with that if they were in modern day times. Just like, give me hard science. Like, we watched Primer, which is a time travel film. Make it like that level of
God, I would love that.
Just like hard sci-fi that you will not understand.
You have to watch it 4 times, and like, they have broken down exactly how Sue turns invisible, but it is so high level jargon.
Yes,
nobody understands. But like, if you give this to a scholar, like, they'll say, like, that all checks out.
Yeah,
makes sense. They've written a new theorem.
Cool. That would be so cool.
I dig that. Yeah, I'm excited to see how they're going to fit into the MCU, and I think they would be a really good branch between the cosmic side of things, something like Captain Marvel or Guardians, and something like Ant-Man that is more science-based.
Sure, yeah. We don't know what Captain Marvel is necessarily up to. We also know that Nick Fury is out there, the Skrulls, hanging out.
Yeah.
So.
One of the wildest things about these comics to me is that what they do to get rid of the Skrulls is that they hypnotize them into turning into, because they're shapeshifters, they can turn into anything. They turn into cows and are hypnotized to believe they've always been cows. They are cows. What's a Skrull? So there's just like 3 cows in a pasture chewing on grass, living a happy life, and then Reed's like, ha ha, they don't remember that they are Skrulls. They'll never hurt us again. And that's haunting to me. What if somebody tries to... Can you milk that cow? What if you ate that cow? What is it? Got
strawberry milk. Chocolate milk. I don't know.
It's from an alien cow.
So Skrull cows are actually a thing in the Marvel universe. What? They often refer to those 3, but there are more of them. They're the Marvel wiki. Or according to marvel.fandom.com in their wiki, they say that there are thousands of Skrulls.
What?
See, blah blah blah. The first
just turned into cows?
That have been turned into cows. So it says the first record, the first recorded instance of Skrulls being turned into cows, incidentally, was the result of time travel. In the year 1776, a group of Skrull subversives came to the planet Earth during a period of time in which the United States of America was seeking its independence from British rule. A Skrull spy was sent to pose as Thomas Jefferson to ensure passages about slavery remained in the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights. The intent was that if the human race was accustomed to slavery, then it would be easier for the Skrulls to enslave them. However, this plan was thwarted by the Fantastic Four, heroes from the 21st century, who had traveled back in time to this era to locate the chrono anchor that was lost in this era. Reed Richards uncovered the Skrulls and used hypnosis to make them believe they were cows, a trick that Reed Richards used on Skrulls in his own time many years earlier in his career. The fate of these Skrull cows are unknown. However, it could go to explain why there is a huge population of Skrull cows in modern times.
What?
Wild stuff. I think they come back too. Steel Crew. I don't know. Yeah. The Skrulls are all over the place. Marvel.
And this is where I'm amazed that they're like, cows? All right, let's run with it. And then decades later, it's like, yeah, they still turn the Skrulls into cows. This is how you deal with a Skrull. It's part of the canon now. That wasn't a one-off thing. We're going to keep doing this.
I really hope they have that in the Fantastic Four movie. Like, have a Skrull spy in that one. Like, because in the MCU, a little bit of spoilers here if you haven't seen Captain Marvel. But the Skrulls are made to look like the bad guy, but then they're not at the end.
Yeah.
But what if there are other Skrulls out there who are the bad guys and stuff like that? So yeah, there is like a Skrull spy or something, and then the MCU Fantastic Four film, they just turn them into cows. They have to. It would be amazing. It would be so good.
I would dig that. I would not say no to it. It's ridiculous, but I don't dislike how ridiculous it is. Okay. So this is my version of the Fantastic Four. So I started with Sue. I appreciate Sue. She's pleasant. If I met this version of Sue in real life, if our paths crossed across time, we'd be friends, I think. But I'm like, there's not much to her yet. If I was to make a Sue in this time period, what would I want my Sue to be? And I thought 1961, this is part of the age of the hostess, of parties, of entertaining, of the woman with her big, magnificent kitchen where she can make all these party dips. And she's wearing like a big poofy A-line dress. And she's ready to invite you over to play Pinochle and listen to records or whatever.
I have no idea.
So I would like a Sue. It's an old game. It doesn't matter which old game it is. So I want a Sue who's like a hostess entertainer extraordinaire and an absolute gossip. She wants to know everything about everybody. She just wants to dig in everybody's business.
Okay. Sure.
She loves to see what people are up to, and she loves to be seen. She loves to go out in her new gowns from Macy's, and parade the town and go to all these social engagements. And so she's got this irony of, now I am invisible. Nobody can see me. But I can sneak in anywhere and find out what anybody's up to. So she's got this Harriet the Spy life going on. She's like, I'm just going to follow my old friends around and see what they're doing.
I would
like she gets
100% be up for that if the movie's main character was her, not Reed. Like, if it focused on her, that would be amazing.
Right. So Sue's where I started with, and I imagine like her and Reed met in college. He was a scientist and she just was not even in science, maybe.
Sure.
She just saw him and she's like, who's that guy? What are you up to? I'm real interested in you now, and just learned science to like know what the heck he was up to. She's like, well, now I'm a statistical genius now instead of getting a degree in world history. So I'm just going to pal around with you. We're dating now. And he's like, okay, ma'am. And Reed, he's the Renaissance man. He's been president of too many clubs, jack of too many trades. This is a guy who's done every hobby. He's like got a giant page in the yearbook, like Yeah, he's president of woodworking club and fencing club and
Woodwork.
track team and photography team. He's basically Jason Schwartzman from Rushmore.
Okay.
He's always been pulling himself in 1,000 different directions. And he wonders when he lands on space travel as his next passion, like, should I stick with this? Should I stick with this girl? Should I stick with Sue? I really like Sue. And then he becomes, again, I'm trying to design. I spent a lot of time on this, Kyle. I'm trying to design this ironic level to all of their powers where he's like I want to become a.
He's like space travel. I guess it's not that much of a stretch.
He's trying to become one whole, contained, consistent person, and then he is given the ability to literally stretch. And then he's given this great cosmic knowledge, and he finds himself pulled in all these directions again.
Mm-hmm.
He's got almost no center to himself as a person. He's just a series of manic actions trying to live and to lead. Ben, again, I'm thinking this is all like what would happen in the 1960s. What is the culture at that time? And I thought about these comic books and like those ads in the back of the comic books. It's like X-ray specs and take this pill and you could be as buff as the guy at the beach who kicks sand in your face.
Yep.
You know that thing?
Yeah. Dim Mak.
So Ben,
the death touch.
So I'm picturing Ben as this scrawny little like pre-super serum Steve Rogers guy.
Sure.
Scrawny little guy, nothing to him. He's like, I'm gonna take one of these back of the comic book pills and I'm gonna get real strong. He tries it, it does nothing. Maybe it makes him sick. And he's like, I'm done with this. I've learned my lesson. There are no shortcuts to anything. And you know what? It's okay that I'm not a big buff guy who kicks sand in people's faces. I can be a scrawny little guy, and maybe he's real smart. Maybe he's almost like as smart as Reed. And he's building like all these models of spaceships because he's in a space travel too. He's got all these tiny little models that he works on with these tiny little hands. And he's like, you know what? I don't have to be the big guy. I'm proud to be me. I'm okay. I've worked hard to be here. I'm proud of my accomplishments. Then he goes to space and he becomes a giant rock man. He feels transformed, disfigured, and it's this sort of like, oh, why did this happen to me? But also like, I didn't earn this. I told myself I'm okay not being strong, and here I am, and now I'm strong. Right. And he's like, I didn't work to do this. So he's also in this mind frame of, I didn't earn anything I have, both in this accursed woe is me way, but also like, oh, I don't deserve to be this strong. Like I didn't lift the weights, I didn't put the work in. Like he's trapped in this Faustian bargain, he feels like, where he's like, I have these powers, but I feel weird using them because I know I am not supposed to have these. This is wrong. Everything is wrong. He's like, I just want to be like a smart guy who built models of spaceships, but whoops, my giant rock hands crushed all the spaceships. And now I'm trying to volunteer like, hey, Reed, let me help you with this calculation. And Reed's like, oh, that's okay, Ben. Can you lift this giant pile of iron girders with your strength? And so now everything about himself that Ben took pride in is brushed aside. He's just the strong guy now. That's all sense. He is. He's been reduced to being only the strong guy. And he's like, I hate this. Which I think would give him a nice edge as a superhero. That's his creed. There are no shortcuts to anything. You work for what you have. So he's going to take down every bank robber out there. Mm-hmm. You put in your hard, honest work, Ben Grimm says. And then Johnny. I took a little while to figure out what I wanted from Johnny. What's interesting to me...
One. See, I mean, I feel like his character is pretty good. He is the hot head, and now he literally is the hot head.
What's interesting to me is that he had no business being where he was in the first place.
Yeah.
Why is he there? It's just like, oh yeah, and there's Sue's brother Johnny. Why? Why is he here? Why is he hanging out? Why are they also like, yeah, Johnny can come to space with us. That's okay.
Oh, so there's a seatbelt. He'll be fine.
Sure, he'll be safe. So I latched onto that concept of a guy who's not supposed to be anywhere that he is. How did he get there? How did he talk his way into this? Mm-hmm. And I thought about a movie I watched earlier this year that is set around the same time period. Kyle, have you seen Catch Me If You Can?
I have, yeah.
Johnny Storm is just Frank Abagnale Jr. He's a little con man. He's a con teen. He's like
Interesting.
Right. So I imagine he's like several years younger than Sue. There's like an 8, 9, 10 years age gap between them. Like, you know, she went off to college, their parents divorced, or you split up or became estranged. Nobody's really paying attention to Johnny. Johnny's upset.
Really her brother. He conned his way into their family too. He's the like lost stepson or something, and he somehow just made it work, and now he's just like, oh shit, I'm stuck now I have to. And then he's on this space adventure with them, and he gets powers. He's just like, what have I got myself into? What have I got myself into?
What I've been imagining is that he is just like this ignored, like lonesome boy who's lashing out, just like in Catch Me If You Can, and he's like, I'm just gonna go lie around, lie my way into cool places I want to be. I'd like to be a pilot. Let's see if I can lie my way into that. Like, he's just doing everything Leonardo DiCaprio does in that movie. Like, yeah, I'm a pilot. Yeah, I'm a doctor. Yeah, I'm this. Like, he's learned all these forgery skills. He's also real smart. And then, like, Sue finds out. She goes back to try and connect with her kid brother. She hasn't seen him forever since she went away to college and started dating Reed. She's like, what have you been up to? Because, you know, she's got the mind for gossip, for secrets. Like, she sees right through him. She figures out what's going on. And she's like, you are done with this. I'm not going to have you lying and cheating anymore. You're going to come to this big city, tell mom and dad. You're like coming up here to go to college. You're going to live in this apartment with me. I'm keeping an eye on you. I'm going to have you go straight after all of this. And so that's why she's like, yeah, and you're coming to space with me too. I don't know how long I'm going to be in space. So you're coming with me because I don't want you getting up to antics while I'm gone. And so then he becomes the Human Torch, which is ironic because he has burnt many things to the ground for fake insurance money.
Yeah.
He's like put out insurance claims on things he doesn't even own, burns them, and he's like, well, arson, where's my money? So now he has found that he's burnt his own previous life to the ground for insurance money.
There you go. Good stuff. I think that works.
I spent a lot of time thinking about this. Marvel, please enjoy my pitch for the new fabulous 1960s Fantastic Four, where they're just really chaotic and they have parties all the time.
Yes. Yeah. I can definitely see it too, because there's a Nick Fury comic book by Jim Steranko, and the art, it's well, I don't remember if it was one issue in particular or if it was like a whole run of them, but he did silent issues. There were no words, but it was just like the artwork. But
wow.
Fun fact, he had a hard time getting paid on that one because they're like, well, you didn't write anything. He's like, yeah, but I came up with the story that they're drawing. Like, you're paying me for that. But it is the like 60s, 70s spy James Bond thriller with like funky colors and stuff like that. And yeah, I think that would fit well with the Fantastic Four.
I just want Catch Me If You Can Fantastic Four. Please hire me.
Cool. But back to these 10 issues here. Do you have stuff to say on the art or the writing? Because we have yet to say much about the art or the writing itself.
I dug the art a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of panels that don't have a background,
yep,
which I imagine may have been a cost or time saving measure at the time. But to have them just in these like colored voids, and then sometimes they're painted like they're blocked out all in one color too. So there's just like a yellow thing in front of this pink background, like punching a monster or something.
I don't know how much of that is the original colors. I know because I read these on the Marvel Unlimited app. I just went straight back to the Fantastic Four and was like, give me issue 1. But they've like digitized them and recolored them, so it's digital colors and stuff like that. So I don't know if the Masterworks looked like it was digitally done or not.
Didn't seem like it.
But yeah, like that is some of the things that they used to do back in the day of just like do these like stark color contrast of like, here is this, all pink person on this green background.
Yeah. I dug it. I dug that absence of backgrounds in some panels, because this story is so silly and free-flowing, and there's not a lot of like, well, these are the laws of how magic and science work in this world. Like, it's kind of a free-for-all, and it's like, yeah, what do you need a background for? Does it matter?
Yeah.
Whether they're like on a magic island or like on the streets of New York or in Dr. Doom's castle or whatever, all the same stuff could still be happening.
Yeah, and I know they were also kind of limited by the printing process of just like they only had certain colors that they could work with, or certain combinations. So interesting stuff. What's neat to me is that Jack Kirby is doing the pencils. However, this I don't think is really the style that Jack Kirby is known for. It's not his signature style, and so it's always fun for me to get to see artists do their like older styles or stuff that is like, this is not the stuff that made them famous per se, right? I'm sure you guys have all seen like paintings of Picasso that he did, right? But he did a lot of photography work too.
Yeah.
He experimented with light and long exposures and like drawing things with light as the camera is capturing it and stuff like that. And like, it's fascinating to see, or to see his more like realistic paintings. It's just like, wow, I didn't know he could actually do that stuff. And so with this, it's like, oh yeah, wow, I didn't know he could do a more traditional style. I mean, like, I did know, but it is just like, wow, like this is him before he had really came up with his own signature style yet. So, but it's like, wow, this is where he got start. I mean, I'm sure he was working on stuff before this, but still, I think you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's still the same old Stan Lee that I know and love, where he just tells everything that's happening in the panel, which is like, gee, thanks, Stan. Like, you get it, I understand it, but you don't necessarily need to tell me this stuff. But it's in its own way, it's charming.
Yeah, it's so wordy. It's so like omnipotent narration heavy. And like I said, I kind of got the vibe of Stan Lee's style just from hearing the man himself talk about stuff, but I had not read anything he had written. I'm like,
it's exactly
this is a lot.
Like
it is.
That's I think one of the cool thing that happens with his older books, that it is just unapologetically him. And it's how he talks, it's how he's always been. It's just like, wow, like he really did have his style down.
Yeah,
like from almost day one. It's like, this is how my comics will be.
And it's got that. And it's got that like brazen, braggadocious confidence to it. Like, I think they said after issue 3, they started printing America's favorite comic magazine at the top of Fantastic Four, partially because they were getting positive feedback, but also I imagine to like bulk up their reputation a bit.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of these issues where this is not mentioned anywhere in this masterwork. You just have to kind of guess what's going on. I guess they were also starting the Incredible Hulk at the same time, because just in the margins of these comic panels, they've just written, "Who is the Hulk? The Hulk is coming. Watch out for the Hulk." And the Hulk makes no appearance in any of these comics. Yeah. It's just like a cross-promotional thing. And it's not an ad. It's not like they put an ad in the back of the comic book. They just wrote
interesting
it on the
that
side
they kept
of the
it in on the Masterworks thing.
They did, yes.
You would think they would take it out.
No, I guess it's part of the story. Well, it's not actually
really,
part of
though.
It's not part of this story, but part of the meta story of like, this is where Marvel Comics began. This is our first family and our first weird interloper, the Incredible Hulk, who just talked about but is not there.
Yeah.
Like, what a wild way to promote something. We'll just write it next to that thing. That's like if you watched Wonder Woman and she's walking down the street and she walked past a poster plastered onto the side of a wall that just said, Shazam is on his way. Watch out for Shazam next.
Hey, they kind of did that in I Am Legend. Remember that movie with Will Smith?
I have not seen it. Is this part of a universe?
No. So in I Am Legend, there's a scene where he's driving down the road in a sports car because everyone has been turned into these like vampire zombie things. And there's no one out there, and so he's just driving fast down the road, and he passes this giant billboard which has a Batman vs Superman like billboard.
No, it can't.
This was years before like we knew that there was gonna be a Batman vs Superman thing. And so we were sitting there like, oh my god, like what? This sounds like, please make this. Please say this is happening. And it eventually did. So.
Whoa.
Jack says the comics version of Waiting for Godot. Waiting for the Hulk.
Hulk never shows up. Hulk is God.
Yeah. Good stuff. I don't know if I have much else to say on these books. They were a lot of fun.
They were, yeah.
Go back and read old Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. See where it all started. Good stuff indeed. Did you have recommendations? Or if people liked this stuff, what else might they want to check out?
I knew that The Incredibles was modeled after the Fantastic Four, but after reading this, I gained an extra appreciation for it. Because the first villain that they face together as a family after Syndrome, who acts as their origin story, kind of, at the end of the first movie, that Underminer pops up from below the ground. I'm like, oh, that's going to be a nod to the Mole Man being the Fantastic Four's first villain. I'm like, I get it now. I see what you did, Brad Bird.
Yeah. Good
stuff.
Yeah,
just I can't do any better than just going and watching The Incredibles again.
Which, yeah, and on one hand, it's sad to say. On one hand, it's not, because The Incredibles is a fantastic movie, and Incredibles 2 is also very, very good. But it's also the best Fantastic Four movie we have.
I will say, okay, our dad took us to see the Fantastic Four movie, the first one, the Owen Gruffold one, and like I didn't like it. I was also not a superhero person then at all. I was not a superhero person until I saw Avengers. So it was a genre that didn't appeal to me. I'm like, I was also like the closest I've ever been to Surly at that age. You know, I'm like 13, 14, 15, I don't know. And I'm like, I thought it was really, like the plot was flimsy. The thing sat down on a bench and he didn't break it. What's that about? How am I supposed to believe? Yeah, so I watched that movie as a youth when it came out, didn't like it. I think some friends and I put it on when we were hanging out once a couple years ago, and I'm like, oh, I get this more. Mostly I just get that Owen Gruffold is very handsome. Sure. So I've been wanting to go back and rewatch these movies and the new one where he's not Owen Gruffold. I want to watch all of them, even knowing that they are not good, to like see what I can get out of them now as I have grown up and I have changed and I am more attuned to what it is that they would be trying to do, whether they're successful at it or not. So I guess come back. I will report back in the future, watch the space for my thoughts on all of the other Fantastics Four.
So the first thing I kind of wanted to recommend is actually something I don't know much about. So it's just like, hey, you might want to check this out, but I don't know if I can really recommend it. There was a DC comic book called The Terrifics. I believe it just ended or is about to end. But yeah, it is their version of the Fantastic Four. They're not necessarily related, but it's all characters that are, like, have similar powers, right? And do all of that stuff. I think I remember reading the first issue or something when it came out, and it seemed pretty good. The art was fantastic. But it's just a short run. I don't know how many issues it is off the top of my head, but yeah, it seemed to do well, and people seem to really like it. I think it was a little bit of a darker take, or a more serious take. Yeah, because of course it's in the DC universe. But besides that, I did find the name of the comic that I was referring to earlier in the show. That was that, like, sci-fi comic. I didn't know what it was. This is a comic called Space Hawk. And you can read it for free on Comixology Unlimited. And it says, let's see, Basil Wolverton is one of the greatest, most idiosyncratic talents in comic book history. Though he was best known for his humorous grotesqueries in Mad Magazine, it is his science fiction character Space Hawk that Wolverton fans have most demanded to be collected. And then
demanded.
So let's see. Blah, 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 as Space Hawk features every story from Space Hawk's intergalactic debut in 1940 to his final Nazi-crushing adventure in 1942. Space Hawk is the closest thing to a colorfully costumed conventional action hero that he created. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I think I read like half of this book. It's like 274 pages. It's just a bunch of different adventures. It reads really slowly, but it is that, like, psychedelic, weird sci-fi space adventures that the Fantastic Four got into, of like, oh no, there's this meteor about to crash on our planet, and Space Hawk happens to be right there. He's like, well, we can shrink your entire planet, right? Like, it's that stuff. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So I would recommend checking something like that out.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Nice.
My recommendation on that. Melissa, it's my turn to do the pitches for this next week.
Yeah.
I have 3 things here. Let me pull up my notes. Oh, to the notes. Okay. Melissa, I have 3 audio dramas.
Hey!
There you go. We kind of challenged each other a while back on, I think it was the Captain's Log. I was like, Melissa, you need to pitch more comics, and you did that this week. And so I was like, you know what? This is the week that I will also be a man of my word and be like, I'm going to pitch an audio drama, because I think since you've come on the show, you have been the only one to pitch them.
Yep.
And
they're all my ideas.
Audio dramas are kind of few and far between here on the review show. So, pitch number 1, Flyest Fables.
Ooh.
I would like to do season 1, which is 8 episodes plus 2 bonus ones. This is an audio drama anthology that follows a magical book and the young kids who open it. They are often in need of escape or some help dealing with their lives outside of the pages of the book. So it's also made entirely by one person. He does all of the voices and stuff like that. So I thought that was neat, that it is this kind of magical book that when different people open it up, they read different sections or get different stories, and it kind of helps them escape or relate to what's happening in their own personal life and stuff like that. I thought that would be fun. And since one person is making it, it's neat to just see that level of intimacy, right, in the storytelling. So
I dig that. Okay.
Number 1. Pitch number 2 is What's the Frequency? I also wanted to do season 1, which I don't know if they've gone into season 2 yet. I'm not sure. But this is 12 episodes with some extras mixed in there. This is an experimental and psychedelic noir story set in 1940s LA. I am stuttering so much. Walter Troubles, Mix, and his partner Whitney are looking for a missing writer as all of Los Angeles is falling victim to a murder-inducing radio broadcast. And if I'm not mistaken, this is some of the creators that made the audio drama Greater Boston, which is one of my favorites. I really loved that one, and they did fantastic character work and stuff like that. So I'm hoping we get that level of quality in this one as well. But I have yet to check this one out. And last but not least, I actually thought this would be a good follow-up to what we just read, the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
I wanted to pitch Marvels. This is a 10 episode audio drama based off of the graphic novel of the same name, depicting the early days of the Marvel Universe. Phil Sheldon and Ben Urich document and report on the aftermath of the Fantastic Four's battle with Galactus. And this one is neat because a lot of the superstars of the audio drama community have contributed to this. I know Paul Bay from the Black Tapes podcast worked on this. I know Lauren Shippen of the Bright Sessions wrote for some of this as well. And I believe Misha Stanton did a lot of the sound work and stuff. He was from Ars Paradoxica and the Bright Sessions and stuff like that. I have read this book. I've read the graphic novel. It's really, really cool. We covered it on the Whatnots podcast a long time ago. It was me and Paul. And yeah, it's like the early days of the Marvel universe and how it all got started from the perspective of like the everyman on the street reporter. And I thought it would be an interesting thing to kind of follow this up with. So I don't know if you want to pick that one or not, but those are my pitches. Pitch number 1, Flyest Fables. Pitch number 2, What's the Frequency? And pitch number 3, Marvels.
These are neat. I'd heard of Marvels, but I had not heard of the other two. Okay. So good job finding audio dramas I didn't already know. We have a really neat variety here, but I want more of them. I want more. I'm not entirely satisfied by these early comics, so I am going to pick Marvels. Okay. I've read them. I would like to now hear them. I need Reed in my ears. Please.
I'm stoked. I'm fantastic. It was originally when they were making it, I know it was all behind a paywall, and then like 3 weeks ago, they were like, okay, it's finally all out for free. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. I want to go check that out. But yeah, this is the graphic novel. It is by Kurt Busiek and Alex Ross. I'm sure you guys have seen some of the paintings and stuff that Alex Ross does, but his artwork is fantastic. I want it to camera here. Guys can see all of that stuff. It is beautiful. I've read that, but I'm excited to check out the audio drama version of that. And I forget who. I think it's one of the Wu-Tang members plays.
Method Man is in this.
He's a
which is a fun surprise
in this. I think he plays Ben. Urich or Phil.
He plays, it says Ben Urich, so I think he's one of the investigators. He's not Ben Grimm.
No, not Ben Grimm.
There's other names that I'm scrolling past that seem vaguely familiar, but I can't tell you exactly who they are. Maybe I know them from other audio dramas. No, this seems cool. Yeah. This seems really cool. And it is, for the listener if they're interested, it is 10 episodes, and they're all like 20 to 30 minutes long. So this seems like the perfect length.
Yeah, and you guys can get it on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to our podcasts. So I'm excited. So
this will be fun.
So we just read issues 1 through 10 of Fantastic Four. I think when they first meet Galactus, that's issues 48, 49, and 50 in the Fantastic Four. So yeah, it's still kind of right there in that same era. It should be fun.
Neat.
So we will do that for next week. I do want to give you guys a heads up. The week after that is when we will be doing season 3 of Mr. Robot.
Yes.
That is falling at the end of the month. And I don't know if we have worked details out yet, but I know, Jack, you wanted to be on that one, so we might have you on that one as well. That should be exciting. So be on the lookout for that.
That'll be a good one.
Indeed. I think that's it. Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT.
You can find me at Yo Kyle Springer on Twitter and Instagram. If you guys want to stay up to date with our shows, we are on Twitter as The Whatnots. You guys can find us there. Go like, share, subscribe. We're sitting at 73 subscribers on YouTube. So if you guys want to help us out and follow us on YouTube, you can see our lovely faces. Hello, camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would help us out a ton. But with that, we will see you guys next week. This has been episode 110. Yeah, 110, man. That's a lot. 110 of the Whatnots review show. We will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for checking out our podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. That was definitely a fun one to record. Let us know in the comments below how you guys would make a Fantastic Four movie. And in the meantime, go subscribe to our show or our channel right up here, because we have multiple shows and multiple podcasts like this one right down here in that corner. You never know what you're gonna get with that. So until next time, we will see you later. Bye.